Hi everyone, this is John Cottrell, and this is a soft flow yoga practice. This is a 60-minute gentle yoga practice. So if you're a beginner, this is a perfect class to start with. And what we're going to be doing for this class, we're doing two things. One, we're going to be specializing or focusing on a particular pose, which is called Pigeon Pose. Pigeon Pose is a great hip opener. And I'm going to give you several variations of Pigeon Pose. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is that we're going to be holding some of our postures. So for example, we'll be holding our pigeon pose for a little bit longer than we may typically do in a class. And we're doing this for several reasons. There's a practice or style of yoga called Yin Yoga. Yin Yoga. And it really allows for the body to do some very effective healing and cleansing. And so in a yin class, rather than a lot of movement, which is called yan or yang, um, where there's flowing and movement and muscle engagement. This is kind of the opposite, where there's stillness, muscle disengagement, and relaxation. And so while you're holding particular postures, what's happening is that you're releasing connective tissue. So if you have any tight spots or bound up parts of your system that needs release, then you may want to hold some postures. And so that's what's typically done in a yin class. So this isn't a traditional yin yoga class, but we're going to have some yin qualities to our practice. We will start with breathing like we always do in this practice. We'll do some movement just to warm up like we typically do. Then we'll get into some of these poses, particularly pigeon pose, which is a great hip opener, and add that yin quality of holding our postures. So I'd like to invite you to take a seat. Oh, let me also mention our props. You may want props for this. In yin classes, you do want props because you want to be able to sit or lie down comfortably for a longer period of time. So I've got a blanket. So if you got a blanket for some padding, that's always great because we're going to be on our hands and knees for a portion just to protect your knees and your wrists. A couple of blocks if you happen to have them, or something that might resemble yoga blocks, something that's firm that you can stack perhaps, like books. And maybe a pillow or a bolster. I even grabbed one of my pillows from my sofa. If you don't have a yoga bolster like this long rectangle thing, if you don't have something like this, if you happen to have like a big pillow or cushion from your sofa, this could work really well as a way to support your body in some of our postures. So I'm going to keep that to the side. And I invite you now to find your comfortable seat. I like to cross my legs. You can always extend your legs if that feels a little bit more comfortable for you. Sit up nice and tall. I'm going to begin with breath. You might start with a few deep breaths in and out. You might breathe in fully through your nose, and you can exhale with completion through your mouth if you'd like, or through your nose. So several breaths so you can just get reacquainted with your own breathing. Start to tune into your body, finding stillness and quiet within. As you're finding stillness and just maybe listening to the gentle sound of your breath, if there's any parts of your body that might need some special attention, just start to think about those areas. Maybe it's your hips, maybe it's your shoulders, maybe it's your back. Maybe there's bound up or tight portions of your body that perhaps this yoga practice will help release. Not only will we'll be holding our postures in this practice today, which the thing that's most complementary to holding postures is, of course, your breath. So make sure you're getting a nice connection with your breathing. So as we continue to sit in stillness, let's just bring a little bit more energy to the breath. As you breathe in, you want to fill your lungs up with that nice air. Then exhale. And as you do so, you might even draw your navel inward towards your spine, creating a what we call the abdominal lock. So you'll inhale and you might feel the breath rising upward, feel the extension of your spine, and this nice expansion through your lungs, filling yourself up. Then they exhale, that light contraction, drawing your navel inward towards your spine, creating our abdominal lock. It doesn't have to be too strong or too firm. It's really just an awareness of your center. This is called ujjayi breathing. And what we're trying to do is just feeling that lightness of the breath, making us feel lighter in our upper body, filling up the lungs and keeping that uplifted sensation by creating a lock down below so we don't drop back down. So again, feel that lightness as you breathe in, fill yourself up, keep that uplifted feeling, exhale, create that lock, and do that 2 more times. This is just our breathing meditation. Let's shift to our moving meditation. A very simple movement. When you're ready, just inhale and extend your arms out and all the way up, reaching upward as if you're going to touch the ceiling. Then exhale, extend your arms out and let them float back down by your side. So we're just following the breath. So again, an inhale to float your arms out and all the way up, completing the full inhale, reaching to the sky. Exhale, still connecting to your center, draw navel towards spine, and your arms come back down. You want to maintain an uplifted feeling even though the arms are coming down. Continue to breathe and move at your own pace. Reaching upward, feel this nice lengthening through the arms and the sides of your body. Exhaling, navel to spine to keep that nice controlled center. Arms float back down. Continue. Since you're moving in slow motion, this also gives you an opportunity to notice what's happening in your body. Notice how your shoulders are in motion, how they help to allow your arms to go up and down. Feel the nice energy and maybe strength through your arms as you reach and stretch. Feel your breath still filling up your lungs. Pay attention to your core, drawing navel to spine. Finish the breath that you're on and take 2 more breaths. No need to rush. You can do just those 2 more. You might even do a few extra if you'd like. But whenever you're complete, just bring your arms back down by your side. You can just let your hands rest in your lap. Feel your arms relax now since they're now in stillness, completing the movement. From here, go ahead and take your hands behind you. If you happen to be sitting up on something, you might just be on your fingertips. But if you're able, you can even just come down to your palms, whatever feels right. You also want to be aware of your wrists if you come down to your palms. So your arms are behind you. As you're able, just feel the shoulders pull back and feel the chest expand and even move forward. You're going to tip your chin up just a little bit. We're creating a mild back bend in this seated position. As you inhale, press into the ground with your hands or fingers. Feel that energy in your arms. Feel the breath rise once again to fill up your lungs. You might even feel a little bit more expansive and a stretch quality across your chest. As you exhale, we stay in place and draw navel to spine. You might even draw or even squeeze your shoulder blades together behind you. So we're adding more energy, more effort in the system. Earlier, I talked about Yin Yoga. So this would be a good example of Yan Yoga or Yang or Yang, Y-A-N or Y-A-N-G. Because we're engaging muscle. There's action and activity in the body, in the muscles. When we move from pose to pose, that's also a yan sensation. It's when we come to stillness and disengage or relax the muscles of the body that we start to move into the yin practice. All right, just take one more breath in and out, more expansive in your lungs if you can. And then when you're complete, just lower your chin, look forward, walk your hands towards yourself. You can even just let them, your arms come by your side, hands rest in your lap. And just hold for a moment as your body just comes back to this neutral position. Good. Since that was a minor back bend, let's take a forward fold. So if your legs are crossed, you might want to uncross the legs and then repositions them so your feet are touching here in front of you, and the knees will be bent out to the side. Here's where you might want to use a couple of pillows or blocks or books just to tuck underneath the legs so they are actually resting, very relaxed there. And hold on to your ankles or shins or feet or toes, but at a place where you can easily sit up tall initially like this. We'll inhale, feel that growth of the spine, long torso. Exhale, pull belly in a little, and then start to hinge forward a tiny bit, leading with your heart and chin, just leaning forward. Hold for a moment. Inhale again, lengthening through your spine. Exhale, draw belly in and hinge forward a little bit more. One thing we like to do in this class is take our time, move slowly. We don't have to rush or move too fast. Even if I'm moving to the next posture, but you want to hold a particular pose a little longer, feel free. You can keep the spine nice and straight like this if you'd like. You can also change the sensation a bit by lowering your chin or even rounding your back. And as you do so, notice those changes in the body, that lengthening through the back of the neck there, that curvature in the spine might create a nice stretch. And if you're able, you might be going a little lower in the posture, which will create a little bit more release in the inner thighs. This is actually a great posture as a introduction to pigeon pose, because pigeon pose is very similar to this. It will help to open and release the inner thighs. Let's take 2 more breaths in this forward fold. Again, feel free to stay here a little bit longer if this feels good for you. Whenever you're ready to move, just lift your chin, just to help re-extend your spine. You can even use your hands to press into the mat to help lift yourself back up until you're nice and tall again. Hold for a moment, find stillness. And then we'll make a transition. So if you're using some props here, let's set those to the side. We're going to swing the legs around behind us and come to hands and knees. This is where a blanket might come in handy if you need some extra padding. If you don't have a blanket, you can always just fold your mat. You can just fold your mat and just make some more layers on your mat if you need to. So you're going to meet together here in this little tabletop position. Your shoulders will be over your wrists, hips over your knees, cat and cow. Cow pose is an inhale. You're going to lift your head and look forward and creating a bit of an arch in the back. Let the belly drop. So it's a little back bend feel. And then exhale, let's round it out. Pull your belly button up towards your spine. Feel the curvature in the spine and your chin tucks in towards chest. Inhale to reverse it, returning to cow pose, looking forward or up, arching the back. Exhale into cat pose, rounding your spine. Go at your own pace, following your breath perhaps, noticing the sensations. This is a wonderful pose to help release some tension perhaps in your spine, your whole spinal column. Because there's this nice rocking effect in the pelvis, this is great because if you have stagnation perhaps in the pelvis or a stiff lower back, this can begin to create mobility once again. That's another thing that yin poses can help you do too. If you feel stiff somewhere, it probably just needs to stretch and release some tightness so that you can regain mobility and even improve your flexibility. Go ahead and finish the breath that you're on and take 2 more, this nice cat-cow flow. And after that second breath, just return to a neutral tabletop position. Just return to stillness. Keep your gaze downward. Take a breath or two. And then if you are using a pad like a blanket, let's set it to the side. Or if you folded your mat, go ahead and unfold it and come back to hands and knees. Here we're moving into down dog. Let's prep our bodies. We're going to step our hands forward. And as you step them forward, spread out your fingers pretty wide. So you create a nice strong base. Then press into the mat or push so your palms go flat, but also produces energy in the arms. Straight and strong. Go ahead and tuck your toes here too. Let's return to our cat and cow. You're going to inhale cow, little back bend. Exhale cat, round the spine, hold cat pose. And once you've done that, lift your knees off the mat and your hips up into the air. That should extend the spine now. And this is downward facing dog. Feel free to make any adjustments with your feet and then your hands perhaps to help settle into your pose. Take a breath or two. We're not going to be here too much longer. You're going to take a peek up at your hands and start walking forward or step forward with your feet just until you can get your feet planted firmly on the ground underneath you. You'll be in a deep forward fold for a few seconds, and then inhale, slide your hands way up your legs, maybe to your knees or even your thighs. So you come up to maybe parallel right here. We're going to hold here as we exhale. So we have a nice flat back like a table. There is a slight bend in the knees, so don't worry about trying to have straight legs here. And your hands are just kind of resting comfortably on your thighs, knees, or shins. And just feel this energy through the spine. Maybe an energy through the crown of your head, the very top of your head, leading you forward, while your hips and your tailbone feel like they're reaching towards the wall behind you. Don't forget to engage your belly here too. Just pull the belly up towards your spine. Now lean back a little bit into your heels. We're shifting our balance a little bit. Bend your knees, let your hips drop like you're sitting down into a low chair. Start to look forward. Then this should free up your hands easily. Take your arms out to the side. Stand up nice and tall. Reach into the air. Hold that for a second or two for a nice stretch. Then exhale, bring your arms down by your side. Right here. While we're here, let's just kind of roll out the shoulders. Just circle the shoulders. You can roll them backward, roll them forward. You can do them both at the same time or one at a time, whatever you want to do there. And then maybe your elbows. Just think about our joints, our shoulder joints, our elbows, wrists. You just circle the hands and a little wiggle of the fingers just to release some of the joint area there. All right, let's do a forward fold and come right back up, a half salute to the sun. Whenever you're ready, just join me. Inhale, let's reach into the sky, nice stretch. Exhale, spread your wings, take your arms out to the side, bend your knees, sit back into an imaginary chair. We're coming down slowly. Your hands might land at your shins, your toes, or your yoga mat. Inhale, slide your hands back up the legs to your knees or thighs, extending your spine, that long tabletop. Hold here once again. Shifting your weight back towards your heels, bend your knees, feel like you're going to sit down, look up or look forward, take your arms out to the side, spread your wings, stand up tall, reach into the air once again, and exhale, arms down by your side. Very nice. Now, even though it's a very slow movement and it's simple enough, it's still yan yoga, okay? Because we're moving. There's certainly muscle engagement. Alrighty, let's continue this action by adding on to our sequence, our full sun salutation. Here we go. We're going to inhale, reach into the air. Exhale, spread your wings, bend your knees, sit back, slowly fold. Again, you don't have to touch the ground. You can always have your hands land on your legs somewhere. Inhale, re-extend your spine, sliding the hands up the legs. Now on this exhale, carefully fold, bend your knees more, a whole lot more. So you can bring your palms to the ground, spread out your fingers, and then start stepping both of your feet back. Take your time all the way back until you're in a straight line in a high push-up position that we know as plank pose. We like to hold this for a moment for strength. Let's breathe in Exhale, bend your knees a little, then send your hips up into the air. This is our return to downward facing dog. We did this earlier. Adjust your hands and adjust your feet. Hold a little bit longer. Feel the nice extension of the spine. Keep feeling this energy of your hips lifting up into the air. We're going to continue. We're going to lift your right foot and extend your leg back behind you. Reach for the wall. Inhale. As you exhale, bend this right knee, bring it in underneath you towards your chin or chest. Shift your body weight forward so your shoulders are over your wrists, and then just set your right foot down onto the ground. Set your left knee onto the ground. That way we can reach back and pick up the right foot and just place it up a little higher on the mat. And then relift the left knee. So it just allows us to make this nice wide lunge. You're going to rise up to fingertips. If you feel like your weight is forward, you're going to feel your hips being pulled back. So there's less weight on the hands and fingers. That way we can walk one hand, then two hands onto your thigh. Press into the thigh for leverage to help lift your upper body until you're about at 45 degrees right here. Nice extension through this left leg by pressing the heel towards the ground because it's probably not touching the ground. Feel the inner thighs squeeze in towards each other. Pull belly button in. This is a lot of action for the body. Extend your arms out to the side. Rise up. Reach up into the air. Stretch and lunge at the same time. So we're reaching upward and lunging downward. Hold for a moment. We're going to inhale, kind of lift out of that deep lunge, pivot or turn that whole left heel to the ground so that foot's on the ground, and bring your arms down to parallel here, and you'll be in Warrior Two. Hold for a few seconds just to feel the posture, and then we're just going to relax the arms. Okay, even roll the shoulders here. So let's just pay attention to our Warrior Two legs. Because again, this is going to be kind of our prep work for Pigeon Pose. So Pigeon is a hip opener. Warrior Two is a hip opener. So let's just hold this a little bit longer while we're here. If you'd like, you don't have to do this, but if you want to, you can even wiggle this right foot forward. You can probably, I'm barely moving it forward, just a tiny bit forward, and the left foot back a tiny bit, just a little bit. Maybe lunge a little deeper, not too much. Let's check with alignment, making sure the right knee and your toes are pointing directly forward, that your knee isn't dipping to the inside of the foot, but directly forward here. And there's a nice, hopefully a gentle release that's happening through the inner leg. Let's come back to Warrior Two, re-extending the arms. Let's take this to side angle. Let's reach forward like you're reaching out to get something with the right hand. Bend this right arm at 90 degrees, tip, and place this forearm on the thigh while the left hand reaches into the air. We're not going to be here too long, but I want you to feel perhaps a lengthening or stretch quality through the left side of the body. And we've emphasized the hip opener. Let's breathe in. We're going to exhale and carefully turn towards the ground. Bend slowly so you can bring your hands to the ground. Let's rise up onto the tiptoes behind us. If you can, push your palms firmly into the ground so you have strong, straight arms. It's a transfer of weight and energy so you can slide the right foot back, returning to plank pose. Now, if you need to rest, please rest. When you're ready, bend your knees, send your hips into the air, returning to down dog. Now, again, if you need to rest, you can always come out of any of these poses. And inhale, extend the left leg into the air, reaching back, strong and straight. Exhale, bend this left knee, bring it in underneath you, shifting your body weight forward, shoulders over wrist, creating that alignment, placing the left foot down onto the mat, and then your right knee. Pick up your left foot so we can get it way up at the top of the mat so we can create our lunge, re-lifting the right knee. Start to rise to fingertips. It might be kind of hard because there's a lot of weight forward perhaps. So feel your hips being pulled back so your hands feel light on the ground. Then they should be able to rise up to the thigh, push into your thigh muscle, extending your spine. Pushing the right heel back. Okay, let's squeeze the inner thighs towards each other. Pull belly button in, securing the lower half of the body. We'll swing the arms out to the side, then up into the air, Create that good stretch towards the ceiling and then lunge a little deeper as you're able. Hold for a second so you can feel this. Then we'll inhale, lift up out of that posture a little bit, pivot right heel to the floor. You'll turn sideways, bring your arms down to parallel, reaching across the room, arriving in Warrior Two. We're going to do the exact same thing as we did on the other side. Bring your arms down, just relax. Maybe a little circle of your shoulders if you want, and then maybe an adjustment of the legs. Again, maybe moving the left foot forward, even just a little bit will be fine, and the right foot back a tiny bit, and then just lunge. That's enough. You don't have to go too far with this. Let's check with alignment, left knee and toes pointing forward. Feeling a little lengthening sensation through the inner leg. Warrior Two. A lot of strength is happening in the legs here. Let's re-extend the arms, return to the Warrior Two position. Side angle, reach out with the left hand like you're gonna grab something. Let's bend this left arm at 90 degrees, bring it down to the left thigh as your right arm reaches into the air, or even over your head, which is what I'm gonna do now. So you can just feel that lengthening through the right side of your body. And again, we're not staying here too long. We're gonna breathe in. Then exhale, turn your whole upper body towards the ground. Fold carefully, bending. Plant the hands. Rise up onto your tiptoes behind you. We're in this runner's lunge for a moment. Push firmly into the ground with the hands, strong arms. A transfer of weight so you can slide this left foot back. Plank pose for a few seconds. And then let's just go ahead and bring knees to the floor. Hold. Let's take cat and cow. 2 breaths. Inhale, cow, look up, arch the back. Exhale, round cat. One more time. Inhale, cow. Exhale, cat. And then just return to a neutral tabletop position. Okay. Now we're going to start our pigeon movements. Before we move into the formal pigeon posture, let me give you a variation of pigeon, which I think is a great posture. And we'll hold this one as well. So we're going to take a seat and then lie down. Okay, you can even use some cushioning if you need it when you lie down. So you're going to lie down, knees bent, feet flat on the ground. Even take a moment to even just feel the body completely relax as best as you can. Although there is some minor muscle engagement because your knees are bent and feet on the ground, and you have to do some stimulation to keep the legs up. Okay, but otherwise you're pretty relaxed. We're going to do a pose called eye of the needle pose. Sometimes we call it reclining pigeon. So let's just go ahead and keep the left foot on the ground. You're going to pick up the right foot and cross this right ankle over left thigh. Okay. Even flex the right foot. It'll just stabilize the leg nicely all the way through the joint system. Now this is starting for some of you a nice hip opener, but if you're not feeling too much, we add on to this. And all you have to do here is actually just lift or pick up the left foot from the ground and feel the legs come towards you. Then you're going to take your right arm and thread it through the eye of the needle, and then hold on to the left shin with both hands, either the left shin or your left hamstring. Now for me, I'm already feeling some stretch, a release, definitely sensation in my right outer hip and my glute. Okay, and the gluteus maximus, gluteus medius is getting a little bit of a stretch in there too. So we're going to hold this not too long, but long enough where you can take several breaths, kind of get into this pose and feel what's happening within. Typically in yin poses, you'd hold in stillness without any kind of movement, no wiggling at all. But feel free, since we're not doing a formal yin class, feel free to add a little movement. It might even help with some of the release if you happen to have some tightness. And don't forget, we want to complement our holding postures with breath. So be sure you're breathing with intention. So when we eventually get to pigeon pose, or even if we do a pigeon pose, or you do a pigeon pose in a different style of class, And for some reason, let's say you don't want to do a pigeon pose or you need an alternative, here is a good alternative. Okay, let's just take 3 more breaths here. Now there is, because your feet might be flexed. Okay, mine are flexed because I like to have my feet and legs activated in this pose, but maybe your legs are a little, your feet are relaxed, but there's still sensation. Okay, you can still feel energy in the body. All right, let's go ahead and release. Let's bring the left foot down. Let's uncross the leg. Let's go ahead and extend the legs straight out in front, almost coming to a Shavasana like pose for a moment so you can really release and let go. No more engagement for a few seconds here. And of course, we'll do the other side in a moment. So eye of the needle pose or reclining pigeon. All right, when you're ready, go ahead and bend your knees again, both knees, feet planted into the mat. We'll keep the right foot on the ground, cross left ankle over right thigh. I like to flex the foot. You might start with the flexed foot, but if it begins to relax, that's fine. And here, just check in because this might be enough sensation. Maybe you don't have to go any further than this. But if you don't feel much at all, go ahead and pick up the right foot, bring the legs a little closer towards you, and then thread the needle with the left arm. Hold on to your right shin or right hamstring. Breathe. And again, we'll hold here. I would recommend holding for a good number of breaths, 5 breaths, 10 breaths. Hold in stillness. And then if you decide you're going to hold longer, go ahead and add some gentle movements, but start in complete stillness if you're able. Just activate the breathing. Notice the sensations that are occurring in the body, where you have the most sensation. And maybe that's where you're sending the breath or intending your breath. Feel free to stay in stillness or add some movements. Maybe the feet have relaxed, or maybe you're flexing the feet. Noticing maybe the hips or your glutes, even the side of your leg, your outer hip. When we hold poses, it's a great opportunity to really pay attention to what's going on inside of you. And even those very minute, subtle parts. Let's go ahead and take 3 more breaths. Whenever you're ready, we can go ahead and release. Let's bring the right foot to the ground, uncross the leg. Let's go back to that Shavasana where we can just extend the legs out front, arms down by your side. Maybe take a deep breath with a nice exhale and melt into the ground so everything disengages for a moment. Good. Okay, go ahead and hug both knees to chest. And just add some movements here, maybe a little rocking left and right, forward and back, or circles. We're gonna sit up. Let me give you 2 ways you can sit up. You can rock forward and back and give yourself enough momentum to rock up to seated. But if that's not available to you, or if your back is a little sore, here's another way. You can just roll to one side and then just use your hands and just press yourself up. And then come to this seat. Okay, let's do a quick version of boat pose that I like to do here. So you're gonna sit with your knees bent, feet flexed, heels on the ground. Hold on to the backs of your legs and use it as a way to help lift yourself up, sitting up nice and tall, nicely extended spine. Okay, inhaling for that lift, exhale to engage your belly, the abdominal lock, and start to lean back a little bit. You can go back as far as you want. You don't have to go back too far. The farther back you go, the more intention or the more sensation you'll create in your core system, more activated it might become. So leaning back if you want to add more, you can always release the legs. And of course, you can always lift your feet. That just makes it a little bit more challenging, perhaps. But this is a great place, not really as a yin posture, but certainly as a posture that you can probably hold for a longer period of time. Okay. How about just 3 more breaths for us? Good. After the third breath, just relax. Okay. We're going to flip back over onto hands and knees. Let's just do another quick cat and cow flow. I'm doing this on purpose because we want to feel this continued undulation through the spine and this rocking of the pelvis. Maybe 2 or 3 breaths, more if you'd like. And we're going to get set up for our pigeon pose. Okay. You can stay here on hands and knees, but if you're able, maybe sitting back a little bit like this, we can start bringing in props. I'm going to be kind of shifting through props so I can give you some different ways to be in pigeon pose. All right. So the first thing I'm going to do, let's see, I think I'm going to use my blocks. And we're going to be doing right leg first. Okay. I'm actually going to turn around like this. Okay. So I'm going to have my blocks nearby. I'm going to have one up front. Okay, up there in front, that's where my head is going to be, and one by my hip. You might even use blankets or pillows or blocks, and I'll show you in a moment how you're going to do that. So at least have those blocks handy or pillows. And return to hands and knees, something like this. Then just going to slide your right knee up to the wrist. Just slide the right knee up to your wrist. You're going to tuck your toes behind you and actually lift that knee so that leg is straight. Okay, the knee is off the ground. This right foot that I'm tapping, I'm just going to swing that foot over towards the left side of my mat. Okay, then I can bring this left knee back down onto the ground. Okay, I'm just angling this right leg. This is the beginning of the pigeon pose. I'm going to use my left knee and toes and just start to shift back a little bit. Okay, I'm just going to hold right here. But you can see there's a lot of space between me and the ground, and that's fine, okay? And that might be you. So that's when you might want to use a block or a pillow. Let me just use 2 blocks for a moment, and maybe tuck something underneath right there so you can have something to actually sit on like that. This might be your pigeon pose. Or maybe you've got a pillow. Let me grab my bolster over here. Something big and soft that you might lay on out front. So this could be your pigeon. And you want to be in a situation where you can hold. That's why you want all these props to kind of hold you in place, okay? So just go ahead and make your way there. Again, you can use props. You don't have to necessarily use props, but we want to be in a place where we can hold for an extended period of time. For us, it's just maybe just several minutes, okay? In a typical yin class, you might hold this pose anywhere between 7 and 12 minutes. That's a long time. It's a long time because your body really needs that time to effectively get into connective tissue, okay, the fascia in the body, to begin to release. What you want to be able to do here is to disengage as best as you can. Relax as much as possible. Just melt into the ground, melt into your props, so you have very little muscle engagement. It's almost like you can just lie here comfortably and even just relax and take a nap while the body is just doing its work. And again, maybe pigeon pose isn't the best posture for your knees, your hips, your back. And that's when you can always do that alternative pose, that eye of the needle pose. Now that we've been here a little bit, just notice how you feel. Just notice if you're able to maybe sink a little deeper into the posture. Often what happens with the body is that as you start to hold a pose longer than it's um, comfortable with, it starts to react. It begins to think, hey, how come we're still here? Shouldn't we be moving? And it starts to react. And that starts to show up as sensation in the body. So there might be a heightened sensation. You feel so much more. But if you can get over that hump of sensation and just begin to continue relaxing the body, that will soften and that will eventually just go away. And you feel like, oh, I can hold here longer. And as before, I mentioned that we typically in a yin pose, you want to be able to hold in complete stillness. Try not to wiggle, try not to fidget, but don't worry about that too much here. If you need to move a little bit, readjust, that's okay. But just know that as you get into a yin yoga practice, that's part of the work that's done, coming to complete stillness. Let's go ahead and take 3 more slow, deep breaths. We've been holding this pose for maybe 3, almost 4 minutes. And so when we move out of the pose, we want to be extra careful, extra gentle. All right, so when you are ready to move, move in slow motion and then even slower than that to start to get out of the pose. You might be lifting away from your pillow if you're lying on one, starting to maybe slowly press yourself up using your hands. Once you've lifted a little bit, if you're sitting on something, go ahead and move those out of the way. And then sit off to that right side, getting out of that hip release. Lean to the right. We're going to bring the left leg around to the front. Let's extend both legs out in front. Now that right leg really needs to extend. That knee was bent. It's been holding in that posture for a long time. So let's just hold here, just in a seated position, nothing fancy at all. And if you need to, maybe a little massage in the knee joint, even down the shin, if you can reach your feet, or just wiggle the foot, because you're relying on that leg. And so you just want to make sure the blood is flowing. Just give it a little tenderness, a little love and attention. Okay. Even thank it for being able to hold that for a long period of time. So we want to be able to honor ourselves, honor our bodies. Okay, so that's pigeon pose that we held for a good period of time. We have the other side to do. Okay, so let's go ahead and come back up onto hands and knees. Use any props that you might want to use, whether it's your big pillow or bolster, blankets and blocks, any extra things, just so you can really completely relax in the posture. Once you're on hands and knees, we'll slide the left knee forward up towards the wrist. We'll tuck the toes of the right foot to lift that knee. Swing left foot over to the right side of the mat. So we've created that angle in the leg. Set the right knee down. Crawl the right leg back. Basically, we're getting the weight away from the hands and sending it more towards your center, which happens to be your hips. And again, you don't have to go down too low at all. If you want to stay propped up, you can see all this space between me and the ground. Just place a big pillow, just tuck it underneath you there and just stay like that. And then just gently come forward. That's a great place to be. It might even protect your knee a little bit better, even your hip a little bit more. Okay, I'm going to go a little deeper, but you choose where you want to go, but don't feel like you've got to, force yourself into a posture that does not work for you. Use your props. I think I'll use this bolster. Remember, finding that place where you can really become relaxed, as if you can maybe just take a nap here. Just notice also if you're engaging any body parts. As best as you can, just settle, just kind of sink into the ground, into your props. Notice if you're trying to hold yourself up in any way. Let gravity take hold of you. That's another element of Yin Yoga. Let gravity do the work. Notice your breath. Even send breath to those sensations. Maybe as you're starting to hold this longer than your body is used to, you have a heightened awareness or a heightened sensation in the body. You feel more. It's like, oh my gosh, I need to get out. There's almost this desperation of wanting to get out of the pose. That's the work. That's the work that yogis are doing in many of our postures, is getting over that hump of that distraction, because it's just a distraction. Knowing that we can persevere, we can get over that hump. Then the work can really begin in regards to that release of tightness, those bound up connective tissue. That's your ligaments, fascia, even some great stretching of muscles, since they're more relaxed rather than engaged. Let's go ahead and take 3 more slow breaths. And as we did before, we don't want to rush to get out of the pose. We want to very gently guide our way out of the posture, these deep sensations. So you might start to lift yourself away from the floor or your pillow. Let's get our hands to help press into the mat, just to start lifting up even just a little bit. Maybe you've made it this far. And then sit off to the left side, sitting onto the ground, moving your blocks and pillows there. And let's go ahead and swing this right leg around to the front and extend both legs. So same thing. So let's give some attention to that left leg that was bent underneath us. Nice little massage in the knee joint, down your shin. If you can reach your feet, okay, or just wiggle the feet or circle the ankles here. And a little rubbing here, maybe just to help getting blood flow. Okay. Very nice. So those are our pigeon postures. So more of the traditional pigeon, but using a lot of props and taking on that yin quality, and then using that alternative to pigeon, that reclining pigeon pose or eye of the needle posture. In either one, you can hold many, any pose really. Um, but usually in yin, we're usually lying down, we're usually on the ground, so gravity can really take over, and then using props as comfort. Alrighty, so let's move to our final sequence here. It's just our closing portion of our practice. Go ahead and lie down onto your back. You can bend your knees, feet plant into the ground. Let's move into our bridge pose, our supported bridge pose. So you might want to have your blocks nearby or stacked books maybe. Press into the ground with your feet, lift your hips. Once you've got your hips in the air, slide your blocks underneath you so you can sit on them. And again, just relax as best as you can here. Settle in. So you're really kind of taking out that quality of lifting yourself up. Okay, you can just sit. And so this can also have a yin quality to it as well, to make it even more yin-like so that your legs aren't activated. You might do another hip opener. You can even bring the feet together so the feet touch and just let the legs just kind of fall open naturally. And if your hips are too high, you can always come down lower and maybe prop something underneath the knees, between the floor and your knees. And you can just hold there. And that could be a wonderful inner thigh release as well, even some back release since you're in a minor back bend. So you can do this kind of hip opener like I'm doing right here in our bridge pose, or just maintain the bridge without the hip opener. Just plant the feet back into the ground. Very good. Just 3 more breaths in our supported bridge pose. After this, we'll do a quick hip opener since we've already done some hip openers, and then we'll finish with a twist and then more relaxation. So when you're ready, press your feet into the ground, lift your hips, remove your props, come back down to the ground, reconnect. Let's do that hip opener. Bring the feet and legs together so they touch, and then let the legs fall open carefully down to the side. So we just did this in that bridge pose, but now we're taking the back bend out of the equation and just opening up the hips, just for a few breaths. We won't be here too long. Just again, just allowing that nice lengthening, stretch quality in the inner thighs, even your low back. This can positively affect your low back too. All right, one more breath. And then just bring the knees together again and give yourself another hug. Let's finish with a twist. We'll start by taking the knees over to the left side. And they may make it all the way down to the ground, but if they don't, again, just pull in a prop and let the legs kind of rest on a prop so you don't over rotate, okay? And then you can extend your right arm off to the right side. So at the moment, my knees are actually resting on my bolster over here. And so they're not touching the ground. So it limits the rotation, but actually this feels much better for me. That's one thing you really want to do and take note of is pay attention to what's happening in your own body. Your instructor might be doing one thing, but maybe you can't do the exact thing or don't want to do the exact same thing. Listen to your body, what you need, what you want, what you desire. Because you can even do a pose that's completely different from what your instructor is doing. Do what you need to do. All right, couple more breaths. Let's bring the knees back up to center. Hold for a moment. So everything comes back to alignment and center. And then knees to the other side. Either all the way down to the ground if they reach, or on a prop so you don't over rotate. You can think of your instructor not only as an instructor, but maybe just like I was thinking, a guidance counselor. They're just giving you some suggestions, giving you some ideas. Here's something you can try. Okay. Okay. You don't have to do it. These are just some suggestions. Go ahead and take 2 more breaths. You're certainly welcome to stay here longer if this is feeling good for you. And once again, you might move slowly to return to center. You might give yourself another hug. And now we can come to our final resting posture. And this again could be Shavasana. So extend your legs out front with your arms down by your side, allowing your body to completely relax here. Now, if you want, we've got all these wonderful props to use. Maybe you want to have your head propped up on a pillow, maybe a blanket over your body, okay, or even a rolled up blanket underneath bent knees. Anything you want to do here that's going to establish the most relaxed body that you can achieve for the next few minutes. And of course, corpse pose is a wonderful yin posture. Disengagement of your body, disengagement of the moving body. Let it relax completely. And of course, this also affects our moving minds, our monkey minds. Just use the breath as a way to help calm the body and your mind. Slow, gentle breaths. If you're very comfortable and don't wish to move just yet, please feel free to stay exactly where you are. Even as I move and end the practice, you can stay in Shavasana, whatever your restorative position is at the moment. And whenever you feel it's time to move, start the movement with breath. Rather than your body, move your breath. Just take some slow, deep breaths. Feel this new energy surge through your entire body, giving you new power, new strength. And then using that to help move the body slowly and carefully, maybe rolling onto one side of your body into a nurturing pose, but you might hold that for a moment. And eventually rising up to seated. You might cross your legs or just extend your legs. Feel a nice extension of your spine, arms relaxed by your side. If you'd like, you can join me. We're just going to inhale, extend your arms out and up into the air. As you exhale, bring your palms together and down to your heart. Just take one more breath on your own right here. And as we complete our practice together, we bow, saying Namaste.